You know, in order to appreciate what you have, you first have to have not. In those first days when you can barely walk around, you don't realize you're going to be the guy flying around on the back of a wingless bird. You have to go from a landlocked landlubber to a brave warrior at the sea in search of the One Piece. You need to let go of your love of oxygen and build a submarine so you can start destroying the planet. And after you're done feeding your capitalist tendencies, you need to settle down and get yourself a good boy. And you might need more than one, because as long as Hermione's around, there's going to be more than one of you. On top of that, I'm probably going to show you the most wild case of animal abuse you've ever seen. And I'm going to do it all while recruiting and feeding an entire village. My friends, this is Havendock. To set things off, I went with the neon pink beard because I need the attention. And while I was perusing the various headpieces, I found what I always wanted to be. A dragon. And no, I did not intend the neon pink beard to be the dragon's tongue. You wake up broke, very broke, the kind of broke that has you eating syrup sandwiches and making ice cube cereal. The only option is to build a place you can call home, try and figure out what happened to you, and find something to eat. You start off by grabbing whatever you can nearby, which is really just logs and leaves. The logs allow you to expand your explorable area by building more deck pieces. Building one above water allows you to build a pump that brings seawater up to the deck. But if you think you can drink raw seawater, our education system has failed us. You have to first set up a distiller to boil the water to get rid of all the evil stuff inside. Remember that. It's a real thing. Then I set up a workshop, which is basically a way to do research to unlock the other categories here at the bottom. I expanded the deck a bit and then grabbed some more materials. It was time to sit down at the workshop and do some research. I was going to need a couple more water droplets to get to the next stage of agriculture. There are also floating crates to give you huge chunks of logs as well as other random items like teriyaki. That is not a real thing. I also caught my first goldfish, which is a special fish, not the kind that you would flush after they die. I built the dock out further and eventually discovered that certain parts of the water are too deep for normal docks. Here you'll need pieces of steel to make bridges. And I had no idea how to produce steel yet, but luckily I found some of those floating crates earlier. And I finally figured out how to make this pump work. Oh, I can pump. Oh yeah, pump it. I need water for sure. And you can even connect stations so that the resources they generate go exactly where they're supposed to be. In this case, the water goes straight into the distiller. And now that I finally got clean water, I can complete the agriculture research. This means new branches of the workshop will be unlocked, namely charcoal and fertilizer. And fertilizer requires penguin poop. Yes, the feces of a penguin. And conveniently, we have a penguin here who looks like he wouldn't mind sharing. I thought he would share, but when I got to the guy and I gave him a fish, all he had for me was sand. With agriculture unlocked, I was able to place some farms, which give you crops in exchange for seeds. Birdhouses are also available. The way they work is that birds poop in them, and then we dig through the poop to get some seeds. And if you're keeping up here, that means the basis of all things is penguin poop and bird poop. This game's definition of started at the bottom is wild. Yes, I know a penguin is a bird. Shut up. You can actually grow a wide variety of things at farms. With that said, you'll be disappointed in me later. After planting some seeds for veggies, I built a trap. This allows us to collect feathers, raw meat, and sometimes bones. I noticed a lady off by herself in the distance, so I bridged over to see if we could have a conversation. It turns out she's the endgame. After researching flight, we can return to her and build a machine to get us out of here. But before that, there's a lot of work and research to do. On top of that, we have to survive the inclement weather. Ooh, it's raining. Wait, does this? Oh, I'm jaded from Don't Starve. Does this hurt me? Please. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. It starts to, oh my god. Like, can I get rid of this? Please delete this. There was very clearly an option to just put out the fire, but I panicked and deleted the whole structure. Also, why does it cost twice as much seawater as it does regular water to put out a fire? What kind of efficiency is that? The veggie seeds I planted earlier finally grew. This means I could research charcoal. This allows me to unlock kilns, which turn wood into charcoal, and grills, which allow me to make basic food for myself. After that, I went back to the penguin again to try my luck. In exchange for a goldfish, he gave me poop. A big pile of black, filthy poop that will apparently take days to wash off my hands. With poop-soiled hands, I set up a kiln to make some charcoal. The grill gives you a lot of solid options too, but for now, I think I'm just going to grill some fish. Penguin poop's still deep under my fingernails. I'm going to use it to research some fertilizer. This will give me a permanent 10% boost to the growth of my farms. I used the extra glass I had to upgrade the distiller. It now moves 2 times faster. The cookhouse had to be next to upgrade because I'm tired of being a basic dragon eating basic fish. I also researched the pier and then found out the water tank has some questionable requirements. Cost me teriyaki. What? Water tank to teriyaki? How does that even make sense? Building a pier unlocks the core of the game because it's at this point that settlers start coming in, and settlers are the core of the automation process in this game. You assign them to their tasks, they do different jobs, they keep your society running flawlessly. And the survivors here have self-respect, so they won't come aboard if they're going to be homeless. We need to build housing in order to get them to join our settlement. I wanted to set up a consistent food source before housing because I didn't want to be the guy not feeding his employees. I started making teriyaki, but I quickly ran out of vegetables, so I checked the farms to find something very interesting. What? I can take from things I can't even reach? You're kidding. It sounds like the devs wanted to make it easy to manage crops between farms, but they didn't account for ones you're not connected to. The next objective was to get 2 raw meat. There was a tip for growing burgers in farms, but I don't know where you've seen that before. Since I'm not exactly Sherlock Holmes, in fact I'm probably closer to Scooby-Doo, I decided to go do something else. I built a dining area so my people would have a nice place to go sit and eat, and a water tank so they would never be thirsty. I unlocked water conservation to save water when cooking, but the problem is housing. I need 2 raw meat, and as obvious as the answer is, I am oblivious. I placed some more traps with the hope they wouldn't spontaneously combust this time. Then I made it my business to automate the water process. I set the distiller next to the water tank and the pump right behind it. This way when water's pumped out, it goes right into the distiller, then from the distiller it goes straight into the water tank. And then I researched nets to catch all the wet treasure I possibly could. Then before long I had my 2 raw meat from the trap side set. I then set up some nets so I wouldn't be the one having to do all the work. And with the housing research complete, I made it my business to build a house, and then I invited my first settler on board. In an effort to automate the water process, I failed miserably. I set this settler's individual priorities to the water tank, but that doesn't necessarily mean he'll pump water. That just means he'll take available water to the water tank, which isn't what I want. Someone else just came in. How are you, Miss Lady? You have any seeds? I love to watch and feed birds. I'll come board if you have 2. Yes, you can have my seeds. Okay. The boat just leaves though. You traded your eternal life for seeds. Okay, that's beautiful. And with more people on board, the more houses we gotta build. What's the home cost? Oh, bro, houses are cheap. Oh my God, the world is a great place. And guess who finally figured it out? Produces. Oh, who knew that you could switch this out and make raw meat from seeds? That's what they were trying to say. Tip, grow burgers at farms. So now I can literally cook raw meat. That's wild that I can do that, and I can water it too. That's kind of strange actually. That means the meat is not really meat. It's a pseudo meat that they created in a lab. I built out more of the deck, and then I noticed an objective to build a rock for settlers to sleep on. This is wild because how bad does my craftsmanship have to be for me to build you an entire house and then you still decide to sleep on a rock? But regardless, I gotta build the rocks because if they don't get any sleep, they might choke me in mine. And I was finally able to set the building priorities for the whole village. This means the most important items will come first, and they'll be a lot less likely to let themselves die. As the village grew, I unlocked more housing and let more settlers on board. I also researched scuba diving so we can get some more materials. As time passed on, more and more people came by, so much so that I contemplated turning them away because I really wasn't ready to sustain that many at one time. I placed some scuba diving stations so I could start producing my own iron ore, fish, and sand, which means I can now set up smelters to make that iron ore and sand into steel, glass, and bricks. I then unlocked comfort homes, which gave me an extra living space for each house I had built, effectively doubling my capacity. I wanted to increase production, so I placed more farms and birdhouses. I then put myself to work trying to find sand underwater, and it was at this point I realized that I need to manage and not participate. This takes way too long as an individual. I went inside one of the houses and realized why they sleep on the rocks. I built houses without beds. At this point, I can't tell if I'm some kind of tyrant or just cheap. At this point, with 4 mouths to feed and 0 food, I decided to start turning people away. But then I figured out how to assign people jobs. The first thing I did was automate the water process. Assigning a person to the pump essentially means if there is work to be done here, then they'll do it automatically regardless of priorities. And if you notice, the person I assigned her has a red top and white pants. That'll be important in a minute. And if someone has to have a job producing water, that means someone also has to have a job producing food. This way, at least the basics are covered. I upgraded my smelters, and then while upgrading my sleeping rocks, I discovered that alcohol restores sleep 50% faster. That doesn't sound healthy, but we're gonna roll with it. The birdhouses got upgraded as well, so poop production was at an all-time high. My resume is gonna look crazy when I add poop producer to it. Your people not only need to be fed, clothed, and well hydrated, they also need to be happy. So I set up a dance floor for everybody to get jiggy on. I filled the snack stand because this is basically emergency food. If a settler goes below 50% hunger, then they'll immediately go and grab a snack. After that, me and the dance floor had to get acquainted. Look at that boy hitting that 2-step. Oh my God, over wood. All right. They're all doing the same dance. No, he got some kind of new boogie going around. Where you stirring the pot? That boy is stirring the pot. I researched bars because apparently alcohol improves efficiency, and the prayers lounge because happiness and hope are also tied to faith. Working on the bridge to the lighthouse, I ran out of steel, which means I had to go underwater to find some chunks of metal. I studied herbs for future endeavors in medicine and alcohol. Then I took a look at healthcare and was surprised by the medical practices here. You put the medicine into the mattress to heal people? That's crazy. I understand, but that's still crazy. I swapped one of my pine farms for a herb farm because crafting medicine was a necessity at this point. And then I built a bar because, well, alcohol. And do you remember this lady that I assigned to the water pump? Yeah, she's different now. Wait a minute. They got different clothes on? Yo, they different people now. Hold up. That's not legit.
I had some different people. Them two ladies and swapped out. I don't even like that. That's not cool.
I kept the scuba station job vacant until now because there's a chance for injury when working. But now that medicine's on the horizon, somebody's got to get to work. While the healthcare research was completing, I smelted some steel and finished off the last of the bridge to the lighthouse. Next, I expanded into a new section of the dock because the main one was getting a little bit crowded. And I had to build a prayer lounge because the village's happiness literally depends on it. So now I placed a mattress, which is basically a healing station. We put medicine inside it, settlers lay on it, and it heals any injuries. I started to make fruit punch because it's the main ingredient for alcohol. But let's just say one of my settlers feels entitled.
I really don't need anybody to bartend, to be honest. Oh, I need to eat. And I need to drink water. Munchie, I ain't make that for you.
I decided to reopen the village and then my first settler got hurt. It was at this point I needed to grind some herbs and really make some medicine. Once I repaired the lighthouse, it became a beacon for different traders to find us. Essentially, someone with a different specialty will stop by every now and again to trade with us. The first person to stop by was the blacksmith. The blacksmith has a special item called the hammer that we want. However, in order to trade for special items, you need a certain level of friendship, which we don't have yet. Friendship is established by giving people stuff for free, basically, which is really annoying. And given I have a diver with a broken leg, I'm gonna have to fill that mattress with medicine. Dr. Squid came by next and he definitely had a much larger variety of things. And I wanted to grab some stuff here I knew I probably needed but didn't have access to yet. But that broken radio, because I don't understand the concept of friendship in this game, is just gonna get left behind. And I was finally able to produce alcohol even though I was living with a bunch of alcoholics.
You're a grown man with your own stuff. They're hovering. They're gonna try and steal as soon as, oh my God, he's gonna come up and try to steal too. No stealing. We got 10, yes, I'll take that, thank you. Research happiness. We're gonna have hope.
Hope is an interesting stat. Essentially, the higher the hope level, the more attractive our village is and the more settlers and traders will come by. On top of that, there are certain structures later on that can't be unlocked without a certain level of hope. Farmer Dave stopped by, who had a certain fondness of lettuce, which gave me an instant plus 20% in friendship. Also, you won't believe what he had in his inventory.
I don't need seeds, I probably kind of need bread. Get a dog? You can get a dog?
It definitely came to my attention that Farmer Dave had the good boy, and I had to have him. But unfortunately, my friendship's not high enough to grab him yet. As a consolation prize, there was a recipe book that allowed me to research cultivation. This provided a path to grow our own wheat and sugarcane. It was here that another tuxedo-wearing bird showed up. Unfortunately, without a zoologist, we can't understand what he's saying, but he says he'll come back once we find a translator. The next person to arrive was the unknown scientist. He brought with him a fishing rod and some blueprint pieces. The blueprint pieces are used to unlock technologies and research, and the fishing rod is used to extend our grab range for fish and other items. Which made me realize, if I don't have a fishing rod, what have I been grabbing stuff with so far? I took some iron ore and researched the shelter upgrade. This will prevent those pesky lightning strikes from destroying our houses. I still need alcohol to upgrade our sleeping rock, so I hired our friend Antarctica to do some bartending duty. However, I don't like my employees getting drunk while they're making drinks.
You can come make, no, don't drink, you drank it. You weren't supposed to drink it. You're off bar duty. You're an alcoholic, you're off bar duty. Oh my God.
Then a peacock and a chicken showed up on a raft and I didn't have anything they wanted to trade for. So I tried to kidnap him. Obviously it didn't work, but I had to shoot my shot. I set up some new farms for wheat and sugarcane, and then a chef arrived. Then I took some of that sugarcane and researched mills. Now we have access to flour and white sand. And just because the houses are safe now from lightning, it doesn't mean everything else is.
My God, could you not, please? Hello?
And then I used some of the wheat I had grown to research mealworms. Mealworms are the core ingredient in chicken food, so hopefully next time that peacock won't get away. At this point, our medicine bay was being overused, so I took some of the hooks we had bought to upgrade our scuba diving shacks. This way, divers will get hurt less when they're scavenging. I didn't have enough bricks, so I had to smelt some before I set up a mill. I was really itching for that white sand because I wanted an igloo. And then a soldier showed up, and we're not going to war or anything. He's just tougher than everyone else, so he's less likely to get hurt. He's also more likely to bust out a two-step too. I finished up making white sand at the mill, and then I took care of the farms. And then after all this time, it finally clicked that the chef should be the one doing the cooking.
Actually, bro, you're a chef. You should be assigned to this place. Where is Glucose? His name is Glucose? Oh my God. Assigned. Yeah. Not the bar. He needs to be assigned to the... Okay, you're unassigned from this. Alpha, you can work the bar now because you're a nice brain guy. But like, you need to be working, like Glucose should be working the cookhouse because, well, you know, that's what it is. It's a cookhouse. He's a chef and he should be manning his own personal station.
The unknown scientist showed up, so I haggled him for the blueprint pieces he had. Then I had to refill the mattress with medicine because break a leg is not just an expression around here. I made sure things were going well for Glucose at the cookhouse, and then I drank some water. Man's got to keep his esophagus moist. The 2 blueprint pieces we traded for earlier came in handy because we needed to research underwater exploration. Trust me, this is going to be a whole new world. I built a mealworm grower next, and I gotta say, this is the craziest conversion rate ever. I have to give them an entire plate of teriyaki to get a few mealworms. I bridged my way over to an island with a staircase on it. At the top of the staircase was a sick bird who required special bird medicine. Unfortunately for this bird, we don't have that medicine quite yet, but on the way back, I almost killed myself.
Okay, so animals. Oh, no. Okay, well, I didn't die. They don't let you die. I like that they don't let you die, because that would be very shameful of them to let me die, and in such a fashion that would have me out here looking stupid.
The mealworms finally grew, and you get 4 mealworms per plate of teriyaki, so I added some more in. But on second thought, the conversion rate sucks, so nah, let me get those back. And I had a crazy excess of wood, so I put my carpentry skills to use. I built out the other large areas here and then left them blank until further notice. I felt like I had wasted my teriyaki on the mealworms, but since we already have them, we're going to use them to research haymakers, which is pretty much all they're useful for other than feeding chickens. Then I set up some parrot houses, which other than people are the most useful thing ever. They take seeds from the bird houses into the farms, which if you think about that for more than a second, it's crazy, because if you're a bird living in a bird house and a parrot comes in, goes through your poop and takes the seeds out, you're like, what the f? And I had finally amassed enough steel for underwater exploration, which means I can build the submarine now, which is kind of funny because it needs wood, and if anybody builds a submarine out of wood, I'm not getting that. Regardless, our transportation to the underwater is complete. This new area is a blank canvas for seemingly new items, but the only thing down here right now is a mineral patch, so I decided to spend some time down here by myself digging it. The main currency of these underwater items is these minerals, so I took some to do some research for a drill upgrade. But imagine spending a currency that you can't reproduce yet. I certainly can, because I'm going to keep doing it. I bought a refinery upgrade right after that. Now these are useful upgrades, but in hindsight, there's only so many minerals in that mineral patch. I set up a haymaker to convert wheat into hay before going back downstairs and plucking some more minerals out of the ground. And while I was digging, it only made sense to set up some underwater structures, namely turbines and mini drills. Turbines are a source of power for all the other facilities here underwater, and mini drills provide us with raw materials to turn into minerals. There's a pretty delicate balancing act between energy sources and energy consumers. Turbines only provide so much energy, while energy consumers, like mini drills, may consume more. And that balancing act includes a battery. Turbines provide 1 energy per second to that battery, and other structures consume energy depending on what the structure is. The long and short of it is this: if our energy consumption exceeds our energy production, then things will start to shut down. For example, placing this refinery did absolutely nothing.
A refinery needs power, though.
This isn't good because refineries produce a wide variety of things, so I had to make sure it had what it needed to produce. I checked in upstairs to make sure no one was starving, and then I quickly took a look at the smelters just to make sure everything was melting the right way. Then it dawned on me that the parrots are basically running the farms by themselves.
He's taking water? That guy's great.
I dropped another mattress because I wanted to be safe and double up on the medicine. Then I finessed the unknown scientist out of a blueprint so I could research some robots. And raking hay takes way too long yourself, so somebody getting assigned to a new station. And this clip is only here because this bird's bounce brings me joy. But back downstairs, I noticed the upgrade material for a refinery was a motor. I couldn't make a motor outright without a circuit board, so I made a circuit board, but then I quickly realized I didn't have the other ingredient, which was bronze.
Wait, what? Copper ore? How do I get copper ore?
And then I discovered a settler who could breathe underwater.
Why does he have a helmet and she doesn't?
More important than our amphibian friend though is that I discovered our mini drills only have a certain number of digs before they shut off forever. Good news is that when you delete a structure, you get back all the materials you used to build it. Don't know if that was intentional, but it's intentionally going to get abused. But back upstairs, the parrots had decided they were done with me.
He would like a cracker. Okay, he's protesting, he's striking. He's like, no, I want a cracker. I'm not doing this anymore until I get my cracker.
And so I learned the hard way that if you don't feed them, they will stop doing stuff. I collected the hay that our guy Luke had left behind.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Wheatman.
Then I reorganized the underwater area into a decent little factory. I added a battery to double our energy capacity, plus some mini drills, and then an unnecessary amount of turbines, which is awesome because I set up another refinery as well. Then Dr. Squid showed up, and it was here that I learned the art of making friends. In order to get, you have to give freely. Basically, that means you have to give stuff without getting anything in return to earn friendship points. It's funny how one-sided transactions make people think you're friends. And I befriended him for his broken radio, but at the moment I have no idea what parts or machines I need to repair it.
So befriending him was stupid. Actually, now that I think about it, befriending him was dumb. Very, very dumb.
And then I discovered a cheeky way to get the parrots to go back to work.
You can load and unload the world and make the birds go back to doing what they were doing. So if you don't want to pay them, you can just unload and load the world, I think.
I took advantage of the old delete and replace on some mini drills, and then I made sure we weren't running out of fish at the cookhouse. And the hay we got earlier from Luke came in handy researching chickens. Then I made a valuable donation to the charity The Unknown Scientist in exchange for just access to the fishing rod. It's actually pretty good though. It increases our fishing range by 50% and it gives us a 20% chance to catch big fish. And then I let myself get dehydrated.
Am I sleepy? Why is his head down? Look up. Am I sleepy? Do I need to sleep? Like seriously? Oh, I'm thirsty. That's why his head is down. Excuse me. I'm going to drink some water now, please. Thank you. And I also need to eat. So I'm going to eat some teriyaki while I'm also drinking water. This is the most efficient way to gain greatness. So now my head is up. I'm feeling better. Yes. Okay. Now I didn't know I was thirsty. Oh my God.
I wanted to focus on pushing the downstairs area forward more, but I couldn't because upstairs wasn't producing food for itself yet. And then I made a realization. I can make them catch their own fish.
I forgot that I could do this. because I've been after sand this entire time. What needs to be happening here is you catching fish.
And since they're now set up to feed themselves properly, it's probably time to prepare for more settlers, so I built some more housing. I also prepped more emergency food and had some good luck catching some of those bigger fish. And eventually I got tired of deleting and rebuilding mini drills, so I built a mega drill. A mega drill is basically a faster mini drill that doesn't need to be replaced because it never runs out since it drills deeper. I obviously had to answer our new mega drill with a lot more refineries because now we have a lot more raw materials to produce in the minerals. But then I discovered the drawback of building a mega drill.
Wait, I say pollution? 1.2 seconds of pollution. Ooh, there's always a trade-off. Pollution is generated by certain facilities. If it rises above 1,000, all crops grow slower. Pollution decreases by 1 per second naturally, but filtration device can be built to decrease it at a faster rate. Okay.
And the solution to our pollution is going to be, well, we're just going to come down here and turn this off every once in a while. I wanted to produce down here as fast as possible, and that meant that anyone that wasn't working upstairs definitely had to be working down here. The next person I had to bribe to get their special item was a lone blacksmith. The hammer is actually really useful though, because up to this point, I've been using 2 iron ore to make 1 steel. With the hammer, it cuts that down to 1. I converted the mega drill to copper ore full time and then brought back the mini drills for raw materials. And of course, to combat that, the turbine army needs more soldiers. It was time to hit the off switch on the mega drill and then take some of the raw materials we've been digging up to research beacons. Beacons basically produce knowledge, and you use the knowledge to unlock better passive bonuses later. Given I had a lot of copper from the mega drill, I decided to convert some of the refineries over to making copper. I also decided to drop a beacon, which is a crazy power hog at 10 energy a second, which obviously means the turbine army has got to go back to recruiting. Since our friend Alp came on board, he's had a trait called PTSD, where he mumbles about the wreckage of the DC-370, but the game just calls him delusional. But it turns out he isn't crazy at all. The DC-370 is a ship we all crash landed in, and to find out what happened, we have to salvage the ship. But only a robot can do that, and we have none of those at this point. Then just as Alpha's about to tell us about the ship, someone interrupts him and hands us a black box. In order to decipher this black box, we need to find a facility that's capable of that. But just keep in mind that this is an early access game, and not everything is everything yet. So I took some of the knowledge that our beacon's been hoarding and I used it to upgrade our turbines. Now we have plus 10% power production. On top of that, they can now be upgraded. Since the turbine army was looking thick, I made another power storage to bring our total battery capacity up to 300. Meanwhile, I still decided I'm not going to pay the parrots.
I'm not paying parrots to do work. I'm not gonna do it. I refuse.
The unknown scientist stopped by, so I loaded up on circuit boards. Then I took some more of that sweet knowledge and unlocked aquaculture. This means we can grow seaweed underwater. And I was convinced the DC-370 held some secrets, so I made an AI hub because the robots are coming. Meanwhile, I unlocked what I believe is the greatest upgrade in the game. It's called Fast Settlers. Settlers will move 5% faster for every 5 happiness, and as you can see, we've been keeping them pretty happy. I was convinced the igloo would be the answer to all my fish problems, and I was determined to grind white sand to get it. But before that, I wanted to see what aquaculture was all about. In order to get seaweed, you need to plant these spores in underwater farms, and in order to get spores, you need to plant these spore catchers. Then finally, I had everything I needed to make my igloo. Or so I thought.
I'll rotate it so that it faces me. Not enough ice. Oh, that's not white sand, it's ice. Who knew?
You know, it only takes one mistake like this to make you believe you're colorblind. To renew my confidence in myself and also to make sure my eyes work, I placed a cookhouse. Then I milled some flour to upgrade it, and then I placed some farms for more vegetables. And then I realized I missed a few days recording, so let me give you a little bit of recap. So I'm basically a god now. A guy with a very limited ability and even more limited intelligence. And we got robots, which are basically mechanical slaves that you feed batteries to instead of food. And also there's an underwater helmet shortage apparently.
He's down here with no helmet on. My man's the savage.
I used some motors we made to upgrade all our refineries to level 2. Then since I had no more use for bronze, I set the mega drill back to raw materials. We also had a happiness problem. Essentially, the more people I let on, the more down tremendous we were. I did the mini drill shuffle again because I had to keep my resources pumping. And I was finally able to put together a filtration device to offset the pollution the mega drill was causing. And since it uses spores and clean water to keep it going, I had to set up another water tank. But I need to do better screening on who can and can't come on the dock.
Who needs a job? Diablo. When did I set up a dude named Diablo loose in here?
I tended to my sport garden because now it's the main ingredient keeping it safe from pollution. And the filtration devices clean up 10 pollution a second. That means I can quit doing the mini drill shuffle. I put down a plankton net and a spore maker, and this means I'll catch spores even faster, which means our filtration devices will never go hungry. And it seems like the more work we do underwater, the more we evolve into mermaids.
Bro, put a helmet on.
The spores I have been collecting allow me to research pollution reduction. This means our pollution cap is 1,000 units higher, so negative effects kick in later, and all resources that produce pollution are now reduced by 20%. All objectives have been completed outside of those related to chickens because mealworms just weren't worth an entire plate of teriyaki to me. The robot boys were starting to slow down, so I had to add a recharge station and fill it with batteries. I threw down the second filtration device because keeping Mother Nature clean is just as important to me as draining all our resources. I gotta keep my cash cow going. And the greatest thing I ever learned was that I could shift click and control click to take out and max out all inputs and outputs. This made managing facilities so much faster. And the crazy thing is we're still collecting loose water from crates.
So water in that box. Okay. That's amazing.
In an effort to protect all my divers from destroying their shin bones, I had constantly been supplying them with scuba tanks, and I upgraded the birdhouses because increasing poop density is paramount. Then I was so excited to build a cauldron so I could practice witchcraft and wizardry that I accidentally built 2 of them. With my pollution problem solved, it was time to pump the planet for more. So I set up an oil rig because obviously fossil fuels is the answer to everything. And the DC-370 hadn't been forgotten. I set our friend Isaac the robot to do some salvaging. I put down a power plant to try and give our turbine army a break. However, I learned the trade-off for power is pollution, and none of the resources I had on hand were really worth the 300% increase in pollution for the power they provided. So we're going to delete that and probably never talk about it again. The next step in our industrial evolution was the chemical plant. Though it required dextrin, which is something I hadn't seen yet, I'd have to find that before I could put it down. And I finally saw the error of my ways and paid the price because ultimately if they go on strike, then I got to carry the seeds myself. And between you and me, it's not really carrying the seeds, it's being knuckle deep in bird poop that's the problem for me. I whipped up the dextrin for the chemical plant and then I went to work refining oil. The chemical plant is useful, but weird because what chemical plant makes batteries and dynamite? The next thing on the agenda was to build a bone altar to attract any stray Hermiones that are nearby. This means witches will now visit the dock. Funny thing is, she actually arrived while I was giving the sick bird the bird medicine. And then he flew off into the night sky, never to be heard from again. I went over to see the witch, and of course, you have to give her some freebies to get on her good side so that you can purchase the crooked wand from her. I didn't have enough for the pixie yet, but I did grab some magic sauce. I took some of the circuit boards I had created and researched smart homes. This means settlers will be 5% happier, and settlers that arrive will also be 5% happier. I was desperately trying to keep my people happy, so I added another dance floor. I feel like that one manager at work who never actually gives you a raise, he just throws pizza parties. I couldn't make anything else to the cauldron, but I could make a broom to upgrade it. Weird progress is still progress. I wanted to research a fireworks launcher to help with my hope problem, so I had to put together some dextrin. And after finally building a diesel boat using motors, oil, and steel, it was time to discover the greatness that is the open water.
Oh, I can actually, who knew that I could just do this? Who knew that I could do this? Oh my God, this is a different game now. What? On day 59, we figured out we could take the boat. Oh, there's a limit. There's a limit though.
Our first stop was a stranded zoologist who claims she's been talking to a penguin on a raft. She agrees to come back with us and also explains the little guy wants sushi, which is exactly the secret we needed to get him to come on board. The next stop is what I'll call the Bird Island, for reasons you'll see later. This island is home to plants that produce coffee beans and cocoa beans, as well as this giant door with an ominous lock in the shape of a skull. There's also a place in the back to build a staircase. We don't have enough rope at the moment to finish it, but we'll be back for this later. There was another island made of ice that didn't look quite finished. It was home to a polar bear, an elephant, and a pretty nice looking house. The last stop before home was the fishing village. Ever since the crash, the fish have been scared to come near here, which means all the fishermen have left, so it's our job to rebuild this place and bring all the fishermen back. And I did do some building, but to even get started fishing, you need some hooks. And whenever I would remember to come back here, I would never have hooks in my inventory, so sadly, I never really did anything with this place. Back home, the penguin graced us with his presence, and you already know what he wants. So I whipped him up some sushi and brought him on board. Our little buddy Isaac had salvaged a good chunk of the DC-370 and found us some nano chips. There was also a manifest that included my name, Alf's, and one other mysterious individual by the name of Dr. Roosevelt. The bots also recovered a signal flare that we could potentially use as an SOS. Looks like we might get some help after all. And then on my way to secure a pixie, I almost forgot that eating was mandatory too.
Enchanted Witch, I must secure a pixie. Actually, I must drink water and then eat, because what am I doing?
The pixie's my most expensive purchase to date. That and some cologne potions I thought would be a great party trick. This almost took me back to syrup sandwiches and ice cube cereal. Now I don't know what kind of nose candy the magically inclined are into, but she sells moon dust and I'm gonna get some of that too. Pixie in hand, I made myself a dust maker. This made me the new local pixie dust dealer. And that cologne potion is something else. Imagine you're on your lunch break but you still want to get some work done, so you pop a cologne potion. All of a sudden there's 8 of you trying to eat the same sandwich. I finally used the flare we found in the wreckage and an injured scientist showed up. Turns out this is the mysterious Dr. Roosevelt. And before losing consciousness, she tells us that Project Kelper must be completed, as well as the fact that I was the one who requested her presence on the ship. Am I the villain here? This event unlocks a life support machine, which she's already in when we build it. Kinda weird. And as we carry her over, we see a piece of paper in her pocket. It contains coordinates to a specific location, but without a cartographer, we can't read it. And spoiler alert, there is no cartographer and she never wakes up. In the meantime though, I should probably take better care of my robots.
I am low on battery.
Yeah, we know, my boy. I know you're low on battery. I'm so sorry that you're low on battery. I apologize for not taking better care of you.
And I'm kind of rich now, so it takes quite a while to gather and replace everything. But still no chickens because mealworms are a scam. With the pixie dust from the dust maker, I could brew a level 1 potion that would allow me to research the town hall. Then I discovered you need tea to research scavenging. Are the explorers British? But good for us, the coffee maker to make tea only required wood and glass, so it was easy to set one up. But once things started brewing, it was pretty popular.
Okay, that's 2 cups of tea. No, you can't have that. No, you can't have a tea. You can have one. I'll build you one and then you have to go away. You can have one, now you have to go away. No, wait. See, now we're out of inputs because we're out of berries. It's your fault.
And the penguin we brought on board is idly contemplating the meaning of life.
His name is Pingu? Oh my god.
There was one last donation to be made to the witch's magical charity. In order to get the basic one for level 2 potions, I had to befriend her even more. And I guess I didn't explain this before, but a clone potion is super useful. When you pop one, 7 extra U's spawn and they help out around the dock. Then Farmer Dave came by and reminded me what the real prize was.
Oh, the dog. I want the dog. I do. I kind of want the dog. Well, I need this egg though, for reasons. I'm gonna trade them. I'm trading this egg.
The only problem that we were actually having is that people were literally refusing to drink free water.
I have one hungry settler. There's things to eat, bro. Like, and there's water. Like, hello? They're like literally just not drinking.
And now that I actually have a penguin, building an igloo seemed like an obvious thing to do, right? But without ice, it's gonna be impossible. With nothing better to do at the moment, I decided to tackle the chicken-related objectives. This involved setting up an incubator and placing some eggs inside so they would hatch. I set up another oil rig because I clearly don't believe in climate change. And I discovered after you set up a forge, it can be used to craft magical items.
Forge can be used to make magical equipment. Oh, make that right now.
But half of the stuff you can craft requires items from the scavenging tent that we don't have yet. And to get that scavenging tent, you're actually required to build a town hall first. But the town hall requires 75 hope, and we're nowhere near that yet. But you'll be pleased to know that the lightning strikes never gave me a break, and that I acquired some frog eggs to make level 2 potions. I also set up a chicken coop to convert the chicks I had incubated into chickens. This completed the last of our objectives. And I have to admit that sometimes it seems like they want you to do extra things just to make it more difficult, because why do you need motors to make batteries? And I made good use of the batteries by plugging them into the recharge station. This way our little metal homies will have some sustenance. And it turns out the hope stat is based on a few different things. The actual town happiness that we've been working on this entire time, the amount of sunflower pots you've decorated with, the amount of people you actually have on board, whether or not those people are in the presence of a good boy, and how many different kinds of food those people get to eat. And sunflower pots are decently cheap and give +5 hope, so I decided to craft one of those. Then I noticed that robots are decently fast, but not as fast as people, so when that battery runs out, that's gonna be it. Then in a bid to increase overall happiness, I set up a fireworks launcher and set it off. This boosts the happiness of our 4 most unhappy members by 5. I was still slowly but surely collecting as many people as I could, also trying to save the planet while simultaneously destroying it and popping shadow clones like Naruto Uzumaki. And to get the good boy from Farmer Dave, you have to get his friendship to 50%. I know I said the pixie was expensive, but dog prices are out of control. After all that, we had pushed the hope level up a decent amount, but not quite to 75 for a town hall. In the meantime, I finished the staircase on Bird Island. At the top was a bird nest that needed rebuilding, and of course they want 5 different materials. Lucky for me, the only thing I didn't have was rope and hay, so we're off to make that. Then the good boy witnessed me building a level 2 fishing rod, which basically doubles our reach. But now that I think about it, we produce everything in-house, so there's really no need to catch things. I needed another radio since we used the one we had to save Dr. Roosevelt. Thankfully, traders like Dr. Squid's inventory refills, we were able to purchase another broken radio from him, and then refine it into another radio. After researching flight, we went back to the in-game lady. She has a whole list of supplies for us to get ready before we can actually take off. This list includes motors for all the moving parts, pasta for people to eat, conveniently alcohol in the place of water, lots of refined oil as fuel to power the engine, potions of flight to keep us light as a feather, and lots of charcoal to keep it afloat. At this point, I was laying in anyone and everyone because I wanted to increase the happiness stat, but to my detriment, it was having the opposite effect.
Now we're dropping. The more settlers we get, the more we drop.
I tried to reverse this by launching more fireworks, but those effects are only temporary. But at the very least, I can make the dog happy.
Can I give him a gift?
Yeah, Havendock. Yeah, it's my boy. In the meantime, I upgraded my filtration devices so pollution is now actively running and hiding. I tried making the alcohol for flight, but I had some difficulty keeping it away from my settlers.
He took one immediately after making it.
Our little robot buddies had been clearing debris next to the DC-370. It was here we discovered a raw iron patch that could be drilled for iron ore, so we placed a steel factory on top of it. This will drill down deep, pick up the iron, and then turn it into steel for us. And I think I realized why my average happiness is going down. When a settler first comes on, their happiness is at its lowest, and therefore it's dragging the entire average down. And after this long on the dock, you would think we'd have food under control. But actually, no. We almost starved right here.
We have no food. Oh my god, this is what I was afraid of.
After I fixed the food situation the best I could at the moment, I headed back over to Bird Island. At the top, I take the rope and hay we didn't have earlier and add it to the group. This repairs the bird nest, and then the biggest kiwi you've ever seen descends on us all. This bird is actually the mother of the small bird we gave the medicine to before. And after we changed its color, it thanks us for saving its baby earlier. Then it offers to give us a ride to wherever we want. We took flight, but there's really only one place for us to go that's high up. And so we dropped into Josh's house, invading every bit of his privacy. And despite being isolated and cut off from everyone, Josh has some decent items to trade for. After you donate to his charity, obviously. I grabbed some cows along with the skull key that goes to the big door on Bird Island, as well as various other items I thought I might need. And quite honestly, at this point, I was very tired of everyone getting stuff for free but me. So I took Josh's only shirt. And don't judge me. I haven't changed clothes in like 3 months. And you're probably not surprised about this, but I'm out of food again.
No, you can't. We're out of food again. Oh my God, they're eating everything. They're eating everything. I'm being eaten out of house and home. You can't come aboard. Go away.
The best way to make sure nobody starves is to refill the snacks first. A more permanent solution though is another cookhouse. This one's gonna be set up for medicine while the other two I already have are gonna be teriyaki based. Then I checked back in with the in-game lady and had basically made zero progress. So I started out by going back to making fruit punch, which is the basis of alcohol. And I absolutely had to play keep away because some people don't know how to control themselves.
No, you can't take outputs. You can bring inputs, but you can't take outputs.
Then I made sure the chemical plants were set up exclusively for refined oil, and that motors were being produced at the refineries non-stop. And I needed eggs to make pasta, so I finally had to play with the chickens. After checking my progress, I had collected all the alcohol, and I was really close on motors and refined oil. But I was behind on level 2 potions, so our resident wizard Betty had to make some for me. I needed to make eggs faster, so I was taking the baby chickens I'd incubated and growing them in the chickens as fast as I could. I used the casing I'd bought from Josh to research spacious homes. This triples our total capacity. I had hit the mark for motors, but potions and pasta were far behind. The level 1 potions had completed, but I didn't have the frog eggs I needed to make them into level 2 potions. But then I discovered you can make ice at the bar of all places, which means I have to make an igloo immediately. And the exchange rate of the igloo is broken. 1 goldfish will net you 20 regular fish. However, 3 regular fish will give you 1 goldfish. I'm exploiting this man. After securing an infinite supply of fish that is in no way, shape, or form unfair, some of the pasta I was making got nabbed by a few settlers. Karma sets in quick. I was still without level 2 potions because of my lack of frog eggs, so I had to place a lily pad and put this little guy to work. Then I collected the last of the refined oil, which meant the final thing to do was put together some level 2 potions. And with everything collected, we build and hop in what looks like a very sketchy helicopter that shouldn't be trusted. And technically that's it. Building this helicopter signals the end of the game and shows you the ending. But do you really think I'd leave you hanging on day 87? I mean, I could. But nah, I would build more rocks because sleeping is a vital part of the life experience. And more scuba stations because my supply of fish and iron must be truly infinite. Also more smelters, yes smelters for the sweet taste of steel, glass, and bricks. And more cookhouses because I have endured famine and I will never go hungry again. My dessert stand would supply the community with sweets, specifically donuts, because there's no milk to make anything else. And then I found the cave of the slime people. There were also evil sunflowers. I had to fight for my life and they only gave me a pickaxe to do it. And I challenged the slime king because we all know I am the one true king, but I was ultimately intimidated by his roundness. But on the way out, I pillaged their cocoa and coffee trees. I purchased some robots from the unknown scientists and used them to automate all my water pumps. We'll never be thirsty again. But I was depressed because I still lacked the hope to build a town hall. I absolutely had to find different consistent foods to increase the food variety. I decided to start with pasta, and pasta requires grilled chicken, so I moved the grill by the other cookhouses. With pasta, the food variety had increased, and so too did the hope. But the donuts were being eaten so fast that they had no effect on the meter, so I turned off can be consumed because it's a game feature and totally not cheating. And so the town hall was built, but big surprise, the government doesn't do anything. Oh, but the true prize here is the scavenging tent. For now we can send settlers on missions to recover special items, and I wanted to build a sailboat to explore the ocean further, and for that we needed canvas, lots and lots of canvas. And the cost of going on canvas missions was coffee, so the coffee maker would be our new best friend. Coffee brewed, I sent them on their way, but I would need more, much more, so I paid another visit to Bird Island to steal from their coffee trees. But then a superhero arrived and she wanted 20 eggs to come aboard, but I had none. I sent the scavengers to gather more cotton, and the superhero was gracious enough to wait for me to gather 20 eggs to bribe her to come on board. And the penguin, oh the beautiful penguin, I had given him 3 goldfish to make me 30 regular fish, and now I give him 12 regular fish to make me 3 goldfish. Then I moved the scavenger tent closer because I was so tired of running back and forth. And then I discovered the true secret of Bird Island, the kiwi nest. Oh, the kiwi nest, my greatest shame thus far. For you see, the little kiwi birds move items from island to island. They could have brought the coffee beans directly to me, but because I didn't spend time in the fishing village, I have no tuna. And then Santa Claus came. But we already have a Santa Claus. One of them must be the Grinch. After that was my last ditch effort to make a sailboat to venture to far-off lands. I refined all the canvas that I possibly could. I sent scavenger after scavenger to bring me back gobbles and gobbles of cotton. I even threatened to beat my followers.
This person works at Coffee Makers. Where are you, Coffee Man? Han. You're now assigned to this coffee maker. You do everything you're supposed to do. And you take nothing. Don't steal from me or I'll beat you.
But not even that would get me my sailboat before day 101. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to take a look. If you want to see more videos like this, check these out.